Hi there, my name is Harish Menon. I'm a program manager for Microsoft Teams working on the developer platform. Today I'll be going over a brief overview of adaptive card support in Teams and how you can use adaptive cards to create rich and flexible card layouts that work across multiple apps and platforms. So what are adaptive cards? Adaptive cards are an open card exchange format that enables developers to exchange UI content in a common and consistent way. It allows card authors to describe their content as a simple JSON object, and the content can be rendered natively by an application like Teams to keep it consistent with the look and feel of Teams. So why adaptive cards? We've heard a lot of feedback from developers to customize their card content and organize the data how they see fit. In the earlier card layout system, like hero and thumbnail cards, the layout was more rigid, which meant you had to rely on custom HTML within the card in order to get the exact right structure for your card. This creates its own set of problems, especially when it comes to controlling how the content looks on mobile. The other primary advantage is adaptive cards follow a write once, run anywhere model, and adaptive cards are supported over a broad set of applications like Outlook, Skype, and even native Windows. Let's look at what the primary elements of adaptive cards are. There are 5 major elements to any adaptive card. The card itself, which defines the basic building blocks like the body, actions, alt text, etc. Card elements, which are the most basic building block of adaptive cards and support text and image elements. Containers, which allow you to group elements together, including other containers. Actions, which define the set of actions that can be taken on a card. It supports 3 types today: OpenURL, Submit, and Show Card. And finally, inputs, which gives you different ways in which to collect information from the user. Okay, that's enough talk. Let's look at a demo. For the demo, I have a basic adaptive card bot here that renders the card that I pass on to it. To begin with, let's look at a pull request card. I can just drag this onto this. And when I send that through, the adaptive card bot basically reads the JSON, interprets the card, and sends it back to me. As you can see here, we have an adaptive card with an icon, link element present within it, a simple table present in the form of a fact set, and a few actions as well. One of these actions is the show card, so when I click into it, you can see it expands to show me additional fields that I can enter, and I can also enter a card comment in here. And submit it through, and my bot gets the information in the form of a regular input. As you can see, this is the comment that it got. Let's look at how the structure looks in the JSON as well. So if I switch into VS Code over here, you can see it's an adaptive card type. It contains a simple container with a bunch of columns within it. One of the columns is the image for the pull request icon, as well as the basic text. Adaptive cards support Markdown, so you can actually present links in the form of Markdown. And you can also control some of the text elements like making it bolder or making some of the text lighter, and as well as controlling the spaces. The table that you saw was a simple fact set, which had a set of source key value pairs to represent as a table. Finally, in the show card element, you can see that we have an adaptive card with an input text element, and you can have a placeholder text to enter comment and a submit action as well. I'm always getting grief from my designers to have labels in front of my inputs, so let's see how you can add a simple label. So here I just need to create a new type, call it text block. With some text within it. And once I save this and go back to my bot, when I send that through, the bot returns the updated card, and when I look into the comments view now, you can see that I have a label associated with this particular object. Next, let's look at a schedule option, like to schedule a meeting. So putting that JSON object into our compose box. And sending that through. You can see it gives you a complex layout which involves inputs that you can edit. You have an image set which presents images in the person style format, which is the circled representation. You can also have inputs like a drop down with suggested times. And the other advantage is it also supports time elements. So for instance, you can have a calendar view to reset if you want a custom time option instead. And once you submit that, the same inputs go straight through to your bot, and all the information is received as a simple JSON blob. Again, let's just check out the code. As you can see here, we have a column set object with a schedule meeting text block with some bold text associated with it. This is the images that we showed there with an image set with multiple images present in it. And it supports two style formats, a person and a default. Person has a bit of a round crop, which is what helps with that representation. We also have an input element over here with different choice sets. As you can see, you can specify what the default option is, what each of the values represent, and so on. And you can also specify the style format, which allows you to specify whether it's a drop down or a radio button, and so on. Next, let's look at a flight update card. Sending that through, you can see that adaptive cards allows you to create a very complex card element as well. In this case, you have a 3-column layout with different text formats, an image present as one of the columns, some text styling that presents an error object in reds, and so on. Again, just jumping back just to see what the card looks like in the JSON representation. You can see that we have a column set here with multiple columns present, one of them being the airplane image and the text block that says that the flight status. We have a color option which allows you to set it to red, and so on. And finally, let's look at RSVP card. And I send that across. You can see that we have a card that's rendered along with an image, some input options in the form of yes and no, a number input for the number of guests attending, and so on. Again, looking at the card's representation in the JSON object. In fact, let's add a new option in this case for food preferences. So I can just take, since it's very similar to the attending event option, let's just take the same set of JSON. Add that at the end over here. Change this to say food preferences. And make the style compact as opposed to expanded. And make this none, vegan, and let's add one more option as well, just for good measure. And actually, since we're using VS Code, we actually have an adaptive card visualizer extension that's available as well. So I can actually look at what this card would look like within VS Code as well. As you can see, you have a new food preferences option that's presented down here. Let's look at how that looks in Teams. When you send that through, we now have a new food preferences option that's presented in a drop-down format. And you can see that it's by default set to none because that's the value we chose, and we have the two options that we selected as well. So you can just submit that, and that'll go back to our bot, and you can see all the different choices that the user has made. One of the major advantages of adaptive cards is that it works across multiple clients. For instance, here's some of the same cards that I showed earlier on an early build of our Android client. As you can see, it maintains the layout and allows you to input data and take action right from your phone. And since these are adaptive cards, the same cards can be reused across other applications like Outlook, Windows, and even Cortana. To recap, adaptive cards lets you create rich and flexible card layouts using a simple JSON representation. You can use it to get inputs and take actions right from the card. You can get more information on adaptive cards at adaptivecards.io. It also has an adaptive card visualizer, which lets you play around with the different card layouts. Support for adaptive cards in Teams will be coming to the developer preview and on mobile within the next few weeks. Thank you very much for your time, and I can't wait to see what cards you come up with.